Recording has begun.
Okay, thanks, Debbie. So hi everyone, this is Sue Reynolds with the American Student Achievement Institute, and this webinar is to introduce Guiding All Kids. We're very, very pleased to have those of you who are interested in expanding your school counseling program to become a schools counseling system participating in this live webinar. And I really encourage you to ask questions as we go. This is kind of a new concept for a lot of folks, and it's real okay to have questions. And it also, this is one of the first times that we've been explaining Guiding All Kids to a group, and your questions will help me to figure out how to explain it better next time. So ask questions, please. In the control panel, there's a question box there where you can submit questions. Debbie will be monitoring those, and then periodically through this webinar, I'll stop and we'll take questions. You can also raise your hand in the control panel, and if you do that, we can unmute your microphone if you have a microphone on your computer, and then we can just take those questions live. So, okay. So just a little bit about our organization, because we know some of you are new to ASAI. We're a nonprofit. We were founded in 2000 by Indiana school counselors. We actually started in 1996, but we incorporated as a nonprofit in 2000. We work nationally. Our Redesigning School Counseling initiative is now in schools in 39 different states, including several hundred schools in Indiana. And our main office is in Bloomington, Indiana. So our organization's mission is really simple. It's just to raise achievement and close achievement gaps. Our expertise is in data-driven systemic change, and we really like to specialize in creating statewide grassroots movements. Those of you who are familiar with Redesigning School Counseling, which evolved into Gold Star School Counseling, and that, as you know, started out as a grassroots movement. It was not a state mandate. It was counselor to counselor, school to school sharing, and support for each other. And we now, 1 out of every 10 schools in Indiana is a Redesigning School Counseling school. So just a little bit of background about me. So for those of you I've not met, I worked in public schools for 20 years, both as a teacher and a counselor. And while I was in my school at Indian Creek High School, which is just south of Indianapolis, we developed Redesigning School Counseling and Guiding All Kids. So both of these initiatives that we're talking about today started out as a school counseling program at Indian Creek High School. And while I was there, I was fortunate enough to be named the Indiana High School Counselor of the Year, and then Indiana nominated me and I became the National High School Counselor of the Year. So those awards were nice, but I always felt that they really shouldn't have been given to me. They really should have been given to all of the teachers and the community members and the parents and students that designed and implemented our very comprehensive school counseling program. And that's the kind of program that we'll be talking about today, the Guiding All Kids model. In terms of professional association, I served as executive director for the Indiana School Counselor Association for 10 years. I was ISCA's first executive director. And I also served on the board for the American School Counselor Association. And when I was on the board, I made the motion to create national standards and was heavily involved in creating the original national standards. Really proud of that work. I also chaired the ASCA Comprehensive School Counseling Task Force and also the ASCA National Leadership Development Institute, where we taught the president and president-elect from every state in the country how to do redesigning school counseling. So that's kind of cool, and we've been able to see those leaders go into their own areas of expertise, but with a foundation of RSC behind them. So that's been really neat. Served as the school counseling consultant for the Department of Ed for 10 years and founded the American Student Achievement Institute while I was in the public schools, but then left DOE to work with ASAI full-time. So that's just a little bit of background about our organization and a little bit about me and how redesigning school counseling and Guiding All Kids started. So let's talk about guiding all kids. So this is on the screen now. It's just a kind of a quick definition of what guiding all kids is. So the key word there is the very first word. It's systemic. So guiding all kids is a systemic approach to school counseling in which all students, and with the emphasis on the word all there, every single kid, no exception, all students receive coordinated guidance and counseling from school counselors, teachers, community organizations, and parents. So it's not just school counselors that are providing services, but is a whole lot of different adults in the school and in the community. And it's coordinated. So that's number one. And then number two, as a result of the School Counseling Guiding All Kids program, we want all students to make sound choices in areas that are going to support their social-emotional health, their academic success, their high school graduation, their post-secondary access and completion, and all of that leads to every student's productive employment and responsible citizenry in a global society. For those of you who are familiar with the Lilly initiative, the Lilly Counseling Initiative, you'll see that those words are very similar to the aim of the Lilly Counseling Grant Program. It was really nice when that grant came out because it was such a perfect match with what our mission is in redesigning school counseling and guiding all kids. So it was very, very easy for us to see how that Lilly funding would apply to schools that were working with us. Okay, so that's just kind of guiding all kids in a nutshell. It's about a systemic delivery system in which there are several delivery methods, not just school counselors. And as you can imagine, when we do that, we're going to reach a lot more kids, and we're going to reach kids multiple times because they're not only getting services from their counselors, but they're also getting services from their teachers and their parents and community members. So let's look at just a couple of definitions that we'll be using, that I've already been using. I just want to show you how we're using some of these terms. So we believe that the scope of school counseling is in 4 areas: guidance, counseling, advocacy, and management. And in terms of defining those, we define guidance is the help that all students, with an emphasis on all again, all students receive from parents, teachers, counselors, community members to help them make sound choices in areas that impact academic success. So the key word there is all, that guidance is for every student in your building. Just like math is for every student in your building, or English language arts is for every kid in the building, guidance is for every student in the building. And then the other key part in that definition is that it doesn't just come from school counselors. Parents guide their children, teachers guide kids, community members guide kids. It's collectively the responsibility of the entire community to provide guidance for the community's young people. So that's guidance. And then counseling is the help that some students receive from credentialed professionals to address personal and social issues that interfere with learning. So this time, it's not for all kids, but counseling is for some kids. And a typical school would have about 20% of their students that have a social or personal issue that's interfering with their learning. So as you're walking down the halls at a school, about every 5th kid that you pass will have some kind of social personal issue that's making it difficult for them to learn. And so when we're counseling, we're helping kids to address those issues. Then also counseling, unlike guidance, we believe should be delivered by a credentialed professional in a helping profession. So a licensed school counselor, a licensed school psych, or a licensed school social worker. So those are the direct services where we're working with kids and providing guidance and counseling. Then the indirect services, the first one is advocacy, and that's when counselors are standing up for kids. We love it when counselors stand up for systemic change. If there's something going on in the environment that's making it difficult for an individual student to learn or a group of students to learn. For example, if there's a course that requires the purchase of some kind of material that the low-income kids, your free and reduced lunch students, can't afford, then having the counselor stand up for those kids to say, hey, you know, some kids can't take that course because they can't afford the materials. That would be advocacy. So it's standing up for kids. And then management is a legitimate use of counselors' time. It is the behind-the-scenes tasks that are necessary for the school counseling program to run smoothly and efficiently. So professional development, organizing the school counseling program, evaluating the school counseling program, writing those passes in the morning to get kids to, you know, the office. That's all the management stuff that you do, that counselors do to make the school, to make their program run efficiently. Then there's another kind of task that I haven't listed here because it's not school counseling. And we call those tasks non-program tasks. So a non-program task is something that has nothing to do with guidance and counseling and nothing to do with advocacy or school counseling program management. We know that counselors have a lot of non-program tasks. I know in my own school, the first time I did a time task log, we discovered that our counselors were spending 90% of their time doing things that had absolutely nothing to do with guidance or counseling. And so, you know, then the question was that we had to talk about as a school was, is that okay? And for us, we decided that was not okay, and so we worked year after year after year to get some of those tasks away from the counselors, because we knew if we did, we'd be freeing the counselors up to provide more guidance and counseling and advocacy. So while we're paying attention to the four items that are within the scope of school counseling, we also want to pay attention to those non-program tasks to make sure that those tasks aren't taking students away from, aren't taking counselors away from providing guidance and counseling. Now, one other thing about the non-program tasks is that they are tasks that have to happen. Somebody's got to print report cards. Somebody's got to calculate GPAs. Somebody's got to coordinate state testing. I mean, they're all good tasks, but when they're all given to the counselor to do, then we really don't have a full-time counselor. We have a part-time counselor. And in our work, we'll help the counselors determine actually what their full-time equivalency is if it's not 100%. So, okay. So one last word is the word all. So in guiding all kids means all kids, not some or most or many, but every student in the building. Or if you're working as a district, every student in the district is getting sound guidance and counseling services. And it's not dependent upon which school the student happens to go to or which counselor they happen to have, but it's a coordinated program, just like all the algebra classes are coordinated, so that all students are getting the same services. And kids who need additional services get additional services, just like kids who need tutoring in math get tutoring. So, okay, so all means all. So what we find, I found this in my own school counseling program, and then as I've talked to counselors over the past couple of decades, this is real common. We often find that because our programs, our school counseling programs are undefined, we tend to provide spotty services for kids. The kids that tend to get a lot of services from the counselors are the college prep kids, because their parents will say, you know, go down to the counselor and find out about the PSAT, I think that's coming up, or go find out if there's scholarships available. So those kids will self-refer because their parents have told them, go see your counselor. Counselors tend to see troublemakers because their teachers will say to the student, go down and see the counselor and don't come back until you're fixed. So, you know, we're seeing those kids and trying to help them. And then we see special ed kids because the law mandates that special ed students have an annual case conference, and those kids are getting guidance, if not from the counselor, from whoever's at that case conference that's providing the guidance. So yeah, but there's a whole lot of students in the building, probably the majority of the students, who maybe in some schools don't fit into those three groups and therefore aren't getting services because there's nobody to refer them. So in a Guiding All Kids initiative, we're going to go after kids. We're going to set up a system so that every single student gets services, regardless if they have somebody else who's referring them to counselors. Okay, and then one other thing in terms of why we're doing Guiding All Kids is as we look at schools that don't have a defined program and a variety of delivery methods, we find that there's often too few counselor positions, resulting in a real high student-to-counselor ratio. And I think that kind of makes sense. You know, when the administration is faced with not enough money to pay all their staff and they have to make cuts, who are they going to cut? They're going to cut the person that they don't know what they do. So it's real, sensible that the counseling positions get cut before other positions when the program is not defined. And on the flip side of that, when we're hiring positions, if people don't understand what counselors do, if there's not data that show that counselors make a difference, then why would we hire additional counselors? So one, we know right now that in this day and age, there's just not money available to hire counselors. But even if there were money available, I don't know why we would hire them if we didn't know what they did and we didn't have any evidence that kids were better off because they worked with a counselor. So Guiding All Kids and Redesigning School Counseling focuses on that issue. And then the other thing is that when administrators are burdened with all of the tasks that they have to complete to make the school run, all the state reports and all that, when they're looking for somebody to assign work to, if they don't know what the counselors do, then the counselors are a logical person to call upon to help them. So by defining the program and by doing outreach with the program so that there's multiple delivery methods, we're able to establish that counselors make a difference in kids' lives. Counselors raise student achievement, and therefore it's important that counselors have adequate ratios and that counselors have adequate time to spend with kids and parents. And all of that through Redesigning School Counseling and Guiding All Kids we address. Okay, so I'm going to pause right there. Let me see if any questions have come in. Debbie, questions?
Nope, I do not see any questions at this time. Oh, wait, one question was, will the slides be available after the webinar?
Yes, we will. There is a website that I'll show you called the Guiding All Kids website. This will be posted there. Yes. Yep. Good question. And I thank you. I should have said that to begin with.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. Okay, so now, in Guiding All Kids, there's really two parts to it. One part is redesigning school counseling, and then the next part is the part we're calling Guiding All Kids. So this first part, we know a lot of schools have already done. We have, 300 schools in Indiana that already have done redesigning school counseling, already have the Gold Star Award. And so those schools, if they are not scheduled to renew their Gold Star, they would skip this step. So if a school has earned their Gold Star in 2015 or 2016, or they're actively doing RSC right now and they would earn it in 2017, this part one you're going to be able to skip. For all other schools that are either renewing their Gold Star or have never done RSC Gold Star, then this is the part that you would do first in the first year of working with us. So that would be next year. So basically, in redesigning school counseling, one of the things that we're establishing is the impact of school counseling on academic achievement. And basically, we believe that when students are involved in sound guidance and counseling programs, they tend to make better choices in areas that impact achievement. And when they do that, the school's achievement will go up. So the first part of guiding all kids is to create a school counseling program. And the way we do that is we start with academic achievement. We take the achievement goals out of the school improvement plan, and then we meet with a broad-based council, a local council for each school, and we talk about what are the choices that students need to make in order for us to reach those academic goals. So if our academic goal is to increase the percentage of students who succeed in an AP class, probably the first choice kids have to make is to enroll in AP, and so that may be a choice that we want to focus on. And then we simply design the guidance activities and the counseling activities to help kids make those choices. So in our example, we would say, okay, what do we have to do to get kids to enroll in AP? What activities do we need to put in place? And, you know, brainstorm and then come up with the activities that you think will work in your school. So, okay, so that's our program design model that we do in RSC. And the focus is on those student choices. This is one thing that's very unique about redesigning school counseling. Although we're starting to see other initiatives go the same direction. ASCA now has their ASCA mindsets and behaviors that align with our student choices, but so others are starting to come along down this road now. But it's very unique to us, and I think we were probably the first nationally to come out with this idea. So, okay, so at the end of the process, I'm not going to talk a lot about the RSC process today, but at the end of that process, so at the end of the first year, if you've never done Gold Star before or if you're renewing it with us, at the end of next year, the school will have a school counseling vision statement, program goals, a resource expansion plan, priority goals, which is a subset of the program goals, root causes, which are the reasons why kids aren't making the choices that we want them to make. You would have identified delivery methods that you plan to put in place. That's going to lead into guiding all kids. And then you've identified the activities that you want to implement to address the root causes that are interfering with the kids making the choices that you want them to make. So all of this gets defined during RSC or during the first year of guiding all kids for schools that have never done Gold Star or RSC before. In RSC, we find that most of the activities that schools are talking about are mainly counselor activities. So if you are an RSC Gold Star school right now, a current one, my guess is that almost all of your school counseling activities are activities that the counselors would implement and not others. Okay, so the goal of RSC then is to increase the percentage of students who make targeted choices. And school accountability in RSC is schools are responsible for increasing the percentage of targeted students who make those targeted choices. We monitor that data in the school counseling program, and the schools are accountable for that. Okay. Also with RSC, when you finish that process, schools will have met all of the requirements for the ASCA Model Program Award or the RAMP Award, and then also schools would have met all the requirements for the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award. So that's just kind of a side benefit. That's not the purpose of RSC. The purpose of RSC is to help kids make better choices, but as a kind of a side benefit, you will be qualified to earn both of those awards. Okay, I'm going to talk about Guiding All Kids next. So just as a reminder, Guiding All Kids builds upon RSC. If you've done RSC recently in 2015, 16, or 17, you're going to skip RSC and just go right into Guiding All Kids. If you haven't done RSC recently, we're going to take a year and do RSC first, and then the next 3 years we're going to go into this Guiding All Kids model. So let me pause before we move into this next section and again see, Debbie, if we have questions.
No questions at this time, thanks.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, so let's talk about Guiding All Kids. So in Guiding All Kids, remember that's building upon RSC. So in Guiding All Kids, we're going to take the school's priority goals, or the choices that we want them to make, and the activities that you'd like to put in place, And then we're going to assign activities to a delivery system. So the traditional delivery system is a counselor-based system where the counselors are going to classrooms and teaching a guidance lesson, or they're doing group counseling or individual counseling with kids. So traditionally, all of the activities in the school counseling program are delivered by the counselors. But in Guiding All Kids, we can also say, I think that activity would be good to have be implemented by a community organization. So let's say you want to take kids on a campus field trip. Maybe the Kiwanis Club could put kids on a bus and take them and do that. So you have an option to assign activities in a Guiding All Kids system to a counselor delivery system or a community-based delivery system, or a teacher advisor system. I'll talk about that in a second. Or a parent-based system where we've given parents activities to do with their children that maybe supplement the activities that the counselors are doing. And then the fifth option that I'll talk about in a minute is actually integrating the guidance activity with the teaching of academic content. So instead of just the counselors delivering the system, we now have 5 different delivery systems that the school can use to deliver the guidance activities. The nice thing about this is all of a sudden we have a ton more people delivering programming, but we haven't had to pay a dime to hire more staff. So in this day and age when there's just not money to support the hiring of additional people, and even if we did have money for a few years, that's probably not a sustainable practice. This is a really good way to bring additional people into the delivery team. It's using volunteers to supplement, to support the professionals that are in your building. Okay, and then finally, once we've decided which activities to put in which delivery systems, then we find the actual provider. So we say, okay, campus visit might be a good community-based activity. Let's call the Kiwanis. No, they don't want to do it. Okay, let's call the Lions Club. So, you know, we're finding providers for that activity. So, okay, so that's kind of it in a nutshell, what Guiding All Kids is, and those are the 5 different delivery methods in the school counseling system. So it's not a program anymore, it's a system of several delivery methods. Okay, I'm going to talk about each of those delivery methods just a little bit. So this is an organizational structure format for a teacher advisor program. There's all different kinds of ways to put together a teacher advisor program. So basically what that is that all of the teachers or a portion of the teachers agree to be advisors to students. And we develop a set of activities that we want those advisors to implement, and then the advisors will do those activities. So in my school at Indian Creek, we had a teacher advisor program, and I tell you, it was like the best thing I've ever done, because where I had, you know, several hundred students that I was responsible for, in our TAP program, we could get the ratio down to 1 to 10, 1 to 15. And those students had the same advisor for all 4 years of high school. And those advisors really got to know those kids. I knew the program was working when the seniors one year asked us if their advisors could be on the stage with them when they got their diploma. And so, I mean, it was so cool. The kids went up on the stage, the superintendent handed them their diploma, and then they walked a few steps and their advisor stepped forward and handed them a rose. And they just saw their advisor as being such an integral part of their school experience. And it took a long time to get to that point, but when the kids asked for that, I knew how successful that program was. So there's all different kinds of ways to do an advisory program. In our school, we did it once a week. We redid our school day and to allow us to have an additional 50 minutes once a week. There's a lot of advisory programs that don't have 50 minutes. We've helped a lot of schools set up advisory, and I can think of one school that only had 15 minutes once a week, but they figured they could do something quick in 15 minutes, so they set up a 15-minute advisory program. Another thing schools have to decide on is, how big to make the groups. We found if we used the secretaries and the teachers and the counselors and the media specialists and all the administrators, that we could get our group size down to 10 to 15. And there were, we didn't have enough classrooms, so some classrooms had 2 different groups meeting in them. So we just figured out a way to make it happen. Another thing that we did is we made our advisory groups heterogeneous, and that was great. So in each group we had like some, academically high-achieving students. We had some jocks, we had some farmers, we had some troublemakers. So every group consisted of different kids. And it was interesting to watch the kids, how in the beginning they were like, I'm not going to talk in here. This isn't my peer group. But then over time, they started to appreciate each other and to learn that while they had differences, they also had a lot of similarities. And so it was really interesting to see the kids outside of their normal peer groups with these groups. We decided to put just a single grade in each of our groups so we could do a grade level curriculum with them. And then we looped the student groups so that they stayed in the same group with the same advisor for all 4 years. And the facilitators then, it was every adult in our school we brought in. Now, this is the way we did it in our school, but when you're working with us in Guiding All Kids, we'll help you create the organizational structure that's going to work best for your school. In an elementary school, I often get the question, is this, do we do this in elementaries? Absolutely. So in an elementary school, this would allow you to either use the existing classroom teacher as the advisor, and then just have that classroom teacher do the guidance lessons with kids. But the downside of doing that is then the kids switch advisors every year. So, or you could have, when the kindergarten class comes in, you could put them with an advisor, and then when you go to advisory groups, those kids will stay with the same advisor for all 5 or 6 years of elementary school. You can imagine how, what you can do with those groups and how close you would become to those kids if you were meeting with them every week for 5 or 6 years. In our high school, for example, in our 9th grade advisory program, our 9th grade advisors did home visits so that, we could see where the kids live and meet their puppies and their cats. And it was just really cool. So at any rate, it's a wonderful, wonderful program. Here's just some examples in a 9th grade advisory program of the kind of activities you might want to do, and I wanted to show you here how the activities are linked to a student choice. So if we're wanting kids to turn in all their homework, maybe in a math class, they would go over GPA calculation and show the impact of a 0. So, but here's some things that could happen in a teacher advisor program as well, integrated in a coordinated way with these activities that are going on in the other 4 delivery methods. So, okay. Community-based guidance, this actually is pretty easy to set up. It just is a matter of recruiting community partners and then floating the student choices that you want students to make to all those partners and asking them where they could adopt a choice. And it's amazing how creative the community organizations will get. So these are the organizations that were around my school that jumped in and said that they would do something or another to complement what the counselors were doing related to the choices that we wanted kids to make. I might add that this works very well in an urban area or a suburban area where there's lots of community organizations, but it also works well in a farm community. The one high school where I set up Advisor Advisee was literally in the middle of a cornfield, and what they did was they started to think about who hires kids that come out of our school district. And they said, well, there's no business in our area, so it's not going to be locally. But they started looking at two communities that were nearby, Columbus, Indiana, and Franklin, Indiana. And so they started to think, you know, if those folks are hiring our graduates, they might want to have a voice on what the graduates look like. And so they invited them to create and help deliver this program. And those community organizations jumped on that opportunity because they don't often have the ability to impact their human resources. So they delivered services even though those organizations weren't within the boundaries of the school catchment area. So all kinds of ideas. It's really fun to get creative with these organizations. So okay. And then academic integration is also pretty easy to set up. You're basically just floating the knowledge that you want kids to learn and the choices you want them to make. And then you're asking your academic teachers, you're saying, you know, we don't want you to teach anything new, but think about what you're already teaching, and is there a place where we could apply that academics to a guidance situation? So we know that academic teachers are always looking for real-world applications for their academic content. And this is not only real-world, it's real-world and timely and pertinent right now to the kids. It's just a great way to make academic learning more applicable to kids. So again, it's pretty easy to set up. You just float those choices and the knowledge that you want kids to learn past the academic teachers, and ask them to adopt a student choice, and they get real creative about how to do that. All of these 4 delivery methods, including this last one, we will help you set up during the 4 years that we're working with you. And the last one is the parent-based guidance. And actually, as part of Guiding All Kids, we will provide for you 2 different curricula. One curriculum will be for the students, so we'll provide recommended student choices at each grade level, as well as guidance activities to put in place at each grade level. You don't have to use what we provide. You never have to use what we provide, but we're just trying to save you time. So we created lesson plans and kind of set up, in our opinion, what a sound school counseling program would look like, and then you can use it or not use it, your choice. But you do have that student guidance curriculum that will come from us as part of Guiding All Kids. And then the other thing we'll provide is a parent-based curriculum where we'll provide online activities for parents to do with their children. So all you would really need to do is just publicize those activities, maybe put it in the student newsletter, or if you have a parent newsletter going home, just let parents know that that's available and they can sit down with their kids at the computer and do those things. Or you could get a little bit more proactive and invite the parents to come to school with their kids maybe on a Saturday, serve them lunch, and do 2 or 3 of these guidance activities in your computer lab while they're there. So different ways to do it. And then there's all different other ways the parents can get involved. In my school, some of our parents decided to start a community scholarship foundation, and they ran with that. And then another group of parents decided that they wanted to put together parent ambassadors to help other parents learn about admissions and financial aid. So yeah, so lots of different parent ideas. Okay, so those are the delivery methods. I'm going to pause again, see if we have questions before going on.
Nope, no questions.
Okay, jot those questions down. I know I'm kind of going really fast, but I'm depending on you to stop me if you have a question or something's fuzzy. So jump in. Okay, we are making some assumptions as we begin Guiding All Kids. One assumption is that you will have grant funds for 4 years to create a comprehensive school counseling program, but then the money will go away. And if we really want to help kids, we need to make sure that what you're designing can be sustainable without money. And that's why Guiding All Kids is focused on developing your human resources, so developing a leadership team in your school, and also helping you develop all the materials you need to implement a comprehensive school counseling program with lots of different delivery methods. So at the end of Guiding All Kids, you'll have a knowledgeable leadership team who understands how to address resistance, how to do strategic planning, how to use data to define change as well as evaluate change. So you're going to have a leadership team that it has expertise in planning and development. And then you'll also have all the materials that you need. So over the next 4 years, you'll design all the lesson plans, the organizational structure, you'll have all of that. So I think one of the nice things about Guiding All Kids is that it does not take money to sustain. There's some schools that want to continue to pay one little stipend just to have somebody kind of watching over everything after the 4-year grant period. But a lot of schools have done this with no funding whatsoever. A lot of schools have actually set this up with no implementation funding, like we all are fortunate to have from Lilly. So this is not a funding-dependent initiative. So, okay, so that's assumption 1. Assumption 2 is that most of your funds will be used to purchase outside of contract time to develop and evaluate this sustainable program. So we know that your counselors and your teachers are with students or parents throughout the school day. And so they don't have time during the workday to develop any of this stuff. So we really suggest that we look at, we've just been calling them part-time jobs or extracurricular assignments or whatever, to enable people to spend time outside of the school day to develop the program. So we're going to recommend that a lot of funds be used to purchase outside of contract time. So, and it's kind of nice because, what we can say to teachers is, would you like a little part-time job? And, it's going to be like 2 hours a week or 1 hour a week. And then this is the stipend that we'll be able to provide for you. And this is the deliverable we need. We need 9 lesson plans or, whatever it is that you come up with. Okay, so that's assumption 2. Now, let's look more specifically then at Guiding All Kids. So here's the timeline. So you'll see that this timeline is divided into 2 different cohorts. So the one cohort will be schools that currently have Gold Star. So they either got Gold Star in 15, 16, or we're anticipating they're going to get it in 17. So these schools already have an RSC framework. They already have goals and root causes and activities, and we can just take off right into Guiding All Kids. So in year 1, they'll do the Guiding All Kids framework. They kind of get the whole organizational structure and all the curriculum defined where they want different things. And then they'll also further develop their community-based guidance system. So year 1 the focus is on framework, overall framework, and your community-based guidance. Then in year 2, we'll work with schools on setting up their teacher advisor program. In year 3, we'll work on academic integration. And then year 4 is the parent-based guidance, but remember, we're going to give that all to you, so not a lot of work entailed with that. The teacher advisor program, even though we're focusing on it in year 2, a lot of schools will make that into a 2 or 3-year implementation, a stepped implementation process. So the teacher advisor could actually come in through all 3 of these years. Then for a school that's never been involved in Gold Star or is ready to renew Gold Star, they would come in first year into Redesign School Counseling. So we'd go through RSC, they'd earn their Gold Star and their ramp. We'd also set up the GAK framework in that first year. Then year 2, we'd focus on community-based guidance. Year 3, teacher advisor program. Year 4, academic integration and parent-based. We'll put those both into 1 year. And then sustainability in that year as well. So the only difference is that the non-Gold Star schools will start out with RSC to begin with, and then we'll double up in that 4th year, academic integration and parent-based. So, okay, so that's the timeline. we'll put together a steering team. Each school will put together a steering team that includes these folks. This is a little tentative. We're still kind of figuring this out. But we've learned in all of our initiatives to very concretely divvy up the work. And so we create that organizational structure of sharing tasks so that one person doesn't have to do everything. So in this, right now it looks like there's going to be 6 major steering team members, as well as some program coordinators that will kind of work with that major steering team. So steering team documentation, I just want to point out for the schools that have been RSC schools, the documentation is going to be much, much less than it was with RSC. With RSC, we had to verify that schools had met all the requirements for Gold Star and RAMP. So once past RSC, the documentation becomes much less, and it has to be less because every school is doing something different. It's impossible to put together a rubric that would apply to every single school. So, okay. Then in terms of our deliverables for you, so here's what we're going to provide. There will be the Guiding All Kids framework, which will include the design process, an organizational structure, a timeline, and then significant steering team support. We'll provide an average of 5 workshops per year for the steering team. The workshops will be in Indianapolis. In some years there may be just 3 workshops. In other years there may be, 6 or 7. It just depends on the work that's being done, but it averages out to 5 per year. When the schools have finished work, they'll submit them to us, and we'll read the work and provide written feedback within 48 hours. And then we also actively monitor teams so that if they start falling through the cracks, we'll notice. And then there's also unlimited on-call support, and we're very serious about our on-call support. I used to hate it when I worked in schools and we'd hire a consultant and it'd take us 4 or 5 days to get a phone call returned. So we want to be there right at the phone when you call us. And then just kind of going through this, I'm not going to hit every point, but we'll provide the online system development management system. There's a leadership manual, a step-by-step process guide, document templates, and then that's where you submit your work to us and get our feedback. And then the student guidance curriculum, the parent as advisors curriculum. We'll also provide materials to train the non-counselors. So the teacher advisors will give you modules, training modules for your teacher advisors, as well as for the community people that are providing services. We'll maintain a database of guidance activities that's searchable, and those will include counselor-based activities as well as community-based activities. And then we're really big on evaluation, so we will give you evaluation tools where you can evaluate students' future plans, so their college and career plans, the choices that they're making today in school that support academic achievement. You'll evaluate their counseling needs, their guidance needs, their perceptions of their counselor. And then we also have a counselor questionnaire where we start to analyze the opportunities that the school and the community are providing for kids. There's communication tools where you can send emails to either different parts of your organizational structure, so your partner or your councils, or you can send emails to students who answered a specific survey question in a specific way, and all of that is FERPA compliant. And then we'll also provide a district-level data and district-level webinars. So if your entire district is participating in Guiding All Kids, the schools will each have a leadership team and will organize at the school level. But then a week before we meet with the schools, we'll meet with either a district person or a district team to talk about what's coming next, and to give you a chance, if you want to do anything, have any requirements of all schools, that the district's going to have a requirement for all schools, the district will be able to implement that at the right time. Or after the fact, after the school's work, we'll put together reports so that the district can see everything that all the schools are doing, and then the district can decide if there's a way that the district could support that work, or for example, if all the schools had the same goal, then the district could say, well, let's just make that a district goal then. Or if all the schools but one are providing a certain activity, the district could, call that one school and say, everybody's doing this but you, let's get it engaged at your school too. So it's really fun, that district work. Okay, I'm going to kind of rush now. This screen is just showing you that while there are a lot of similarities in Guiding All Kids schools, there's going to be a lot of differences. So every school is going to take this in a different direction. The only thing that we can really say that Guiding All Kids schools will have in common is they'll all have a vision-based, data-driven strategic plan, and then they'll all have a variety of delivery methods. That variety of delivery methods and the coordination of those methods is what makes a Guiding All Kids school a GAK school. Okay, timeline. The application we just put online actually a few minutes ago, which was why we started the webinar a few minutes late. So that's up for you. I'll show you where that is in a second. There's some of these dates that have changed. This GAK application deadline is going to be the 27th. So the GAK application deadline has changed to the 27th, and we'll let you know on the 28th, the very next day, if your school's been accepted to Guiding All Kids or not. Then we're doing a grant writer workshop on May 4th, and that will be an actual workshop where we talk about, we'll go through every little bit of every little section in the RFP. We'll give you a sample organizational structure, and then we'll say, because you're doing Guiding All Kids, here's some things that you might want to think about. We'll probably give you some sample language to begin with, but we'll ask you to put it in your own words. And then the Lilly implementation grant is due the 19th. Lily's going to let schools know in September if they receive the implementation grant. And then what we've decided to do is 2 weeks later, if you did not get the Lilly grant, we'll allow you to withdraw from Guiding All Kids without any penalty or expectation of payment. In this 2 weeks, though, we will be helping you try to find other funders. Just because you don't get funded by Lilly, that doesn't mean there's not another funder out there that will support you. So we'll help you explore who other funders might be, and then work with you to approach those funders to see if they can come up with the funding if Lilly doesn't. So it's our intent to keep all of our Guiding All Kids schools. We just need to make it financially feasible if schools don't get that Lilly award. So okay, let's look at the GAK application. Actually, I'm going to skip that. I just want to show you a couple things, and I know I'm over a couple minutes. Talked about that. So in our online system, we also will create tools that will help you create your Lilly grant. For example, the Lilly RFP asks for a Gantt report, and Gantt reports are a pain in the rear end to put together. But this is a tool. You just write here what the task is. You select what months in the first year it's going to happen in, and then what the other years are. And then you just push the Create Report button, and this report pops out. So that'll make creating your Gantt reports really simple, and this will be available then for all the schools that get selected to be a Guiding All Kids school. So that's the Gantt report. We also have a budget generator so that you'll be able to put in an expenditure, you'll put in the line item, put in some budget notes, and then the amount per each year. And then after you've got all that data entry in there, then the report will spit out this nice little report. The computer will spit out this report. And the nice thing about it is all the math will be correct. So yeah, so you've got that to work with. remember that there is funding available from Lilly, and we don't want to think of this as a Lilly initiative. This is Guiding All Kids, and we just have to help schools find funding for it. And one of the funders right now is Lilly, but if not Lilly, we can help you find other funders as well. So significant money coming into the schools. And again, it's significant money and over 4 years because Lilly is expecting something, fundamentally different. It's not just let's add on a new program to what we're already doing. It's, let's start from scratch and figure out the best way to do this. And we believe that putting together a variety of delivery methods is a really sound use of Lilly funds, because that's a program that will sustain. So in terms of putting together stipends, and again at that May 4th workshop, we'll give you some more ideas of who might be, of who you might provide stipends for, how many hours we're anticipating each of them will put into Guiding All Kids over the 4 years, so that will help you with your budgeting. And then for schools that are already in RSC, we've got a report that will total up how many council members are involved district-wide. This is one of our districts in the northern part of the state. You can see that, they can say in their application that they already have 207 community members that have come to a series of discussions about school counseling and helped them set up their strategic plan and their application for Lilly. Also, if you've been in RSC school, this is another report where we list all of the organizations that have agreed to be partners and help you with the implementation in the partner-based implementation part, and we'll grow on this list in the first year of Guiding All Kids. And then also, if you're in RSC right now, this is another report where each of the schools estimates how much money they're going to need to implement Guiding All Kids in their building, and then you can tally that up. The system tallies that up, so you've got some idea of district-wide what kind of funds you're looking for. And if you're not in an RSC district right now, these are the kinds of reports that you'll get when you engage in RSC as a district, or in Guiding All Kids as a district. Okay, so here's the fee. So this fee just basically covers our costs. We went through, just like you're budgeting your grant application, we went through and budgeted, okay, how much are we going to need for personnel? How much are we going to need for travel for this? And we just went through line item by line item, and really, I mean, we even went so far as to figure out how many miles it is from where Janet lives to Indianapolis, and we calculated her mileage. I mean, we really did it to the penny. So, anyway, so for schools that have done Gold Star in 2017, 16, or 15, the fee is $7,500 per year. Remember, that includes all of those deliverables: the online system, the workshop, the face-to-face workshops, 5 per year, the review of all your work with written feedback, the on-call support. I mean, that's all added in there. So $7,500 a year, and you'll sign up for all 4 years. So that would be $30,000 per school. And then for Gold Star, if you were Gold Star in 2014 or before, or you've never been Gold Star, then it's $9,000 per year, which over 4 years per school would add up to $36,000. If you are a district with more than 12 schools participating, please call me. We can do, there's some economies of scale that we have that we can lower that cost a little bit for you. So if you're a district with more than 12 schools, call us and we'll set up an individual price for your school. Okay, let's go to the application, and then we'll close. Okay, so the application. So I'm on the Guiding All Kids website. This website will become more robust as we go on. It's just starting out right now for us. Eventually it'll have the place where steering teams log in to their work, and where the district will log in. But right now there's an overview of Guiding All Kids. there's the application timeline, but what we're looking at is the application, and this literally just got launched a few minutes ago, and I have never opened it up before, but I know what it's supposed to look like. Okay, so deadline April 27th. So you're just filling out, your person's name, contact information. This field will auto-populate the last year that school was awarded the Gold Star. We'll pull that in there. And then we'd like a short principal statement just about why is Guiding All Kids a good fit for your school. We just want to make sure the principal is aware of what Guiding All Kids is, and that they're aware that their school is applying, and that this is going to be intensive. It's not something that's for all schools. It's just for schools that are really committed and dedicated. So, and then just, is your school applying for the implementation grant? Yes or no? Are all schools in your district applying for Guiding All Kids? Yes, no, I don't know. And then the assurances. I've read the assurances. I understand that the per school enrollment for Guiding All Kids is this amount will appear here after you've answered the question above about after you put your school's name in. We'll figure out which cohort to put you in based on when you last did Gold Star, and a dollar amount will appear there. So, and then this is just saying that you understand that you can back out if you don't get the funding. And this is asking you, do you have authority to contract with us for this, to agree with these assurances? And then the billing contact. And then this memorandum of understanding we take very, very seriously. First of all, it lists our deliverables. This is our promise to you that this is what we will deliver, and I take these deliverables very seriously. If we tell you we're going to do something, we're going to do it. So these are all the deliverables. We kind of just went over these, but this is what we'll provide. There it all is with our promise that we'll provide it. And then on your end, we will want a promise from you, and that is that you're going to implement a program with 5 delivery methods. You're going to establish a steering team. The steering team is going to share the management of this process. You're assuring that the steering team members will attend the workshops that will happen an average of 5 times a year. You're going to convene a broad-based school counseling council. Remember, we'll help you do all this, give you all the resources you need. And you're going to recruit community partners. You're going to give a survey to kids. You're going to facilitate 2 or 3 discussions a year with your school counseling council. Although if you're in for the first time or renewing, it'll be 6 meetings in that first year. You're going to enter documentation. You're going to review our feedback, and then you're going to make payment. And there's just a couple of notes here about that payment, but it's basically the same thing. And when you put in your school's name, the payment amount will appear. So, and then you just submit, and you'll submit that by the 27th, and on the 28th we'll tell you if we're accepting you or not. Some of this is meeting that deadline obviously is very important, because we're going to decide the very next day who we're accepting. So, okay, so that's kind of it. Let's take some questions, and then we can close.
Yes, Sue, I have one question from Freedom, and she asks, are the RSC tools available to schools or districts after the 4 years provided, provided they stay current with RSC and Gold Star?
Okay, you cut out there a little bit. I think you're asking, are these tools going to be available after the 4 years? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so the answer is yes. And typically, that's a very good question, by the way. I appreciate that. Typically, what we do is, after everything is developed on our end, we still have a little bit of an expense to update everything and to turn 1 year over into the next year in the online system. So we still have a little bit of an expense. So what we typically do is we'll just divvy that expense up between all the schools that have participated. And normally it comes down to an amount that a school could fund with a couple of bake sales. That's our goal. You know, we know we're going to have some expenses after the grant period, but we want our expenses to be so little that a school could just go to their PTA and ask them to do, you know, a project or have a couple of bake sales or use their Coke machine money or whatever to continue with the process. And every 3 years, schools renew their Gold Star status. In those years, sometimes there's no cost because we've been able to find an additional funder. For many years, we haven't had any cost for RSC until we had several hundred schools sign up last year, and then our funder couldn't afford that many schools, so we started to have to charge schools a little bit, but we knew that the Lilly money was there, so we weren't too worried about it. But I guess the bottom line is that it'll be very, very small after our fee for the next 4 years, and yes, the materials will still be there.
And that's all I have.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for participating. We are really excited about this initiative. We have wanted to do this for like 10 years, and we were able to do pieces of this through different funders. Like we've had a huge community guidance initiative that the Commission for Higher Ed funded, and then the Redesigning School Counseling had a little bit of funding from the Department of Ed, and there was we had a parent initiative that was funded by the State Student Assistance Commission of Indiana, but we've never had an opportunity to merge all of these initiatives together before, and we are so excited about that. So feel free to call me if you have any questions. I know at this point everybody's trying to make sense of everything they're doing for the Lilly funding, but I'm happy to answer any questions you have. So give me a call if you have questions. And good luck to everybody as you finish out your school years and as you write your Lilly implementation grants. And we'll look for your applications. If you want to send those right now, as soon as we finish this webinar, fill them out and send them in. We just need to make sure that we hit that principal statement. So, okay, thanks everybody, and we'll talk to everybody later. Thank you.